All right, we are live. Okay, welcome everyone. All right, if you could just say hi in the chat, let me know you're here, that would be great. All right, Obi-Wan Kenobi here, Jason, good to see all of you. Let's see here. All right, hey there, Connor the Native Man, good to see you. Welcome. All right, let's see. Okay, so got a couple things we can do today. As you can see, I've got the Mirage 2000 here, and this is the Kinetic kit. Got it back there on the table. And also I've got the Russian T80 that I can be working on as well. I'm happy to update and kind of let you know where I'm at with these vehicles. I like to build both aircraft and armored vehicles, from tanks to trucks, the little Pink Panthers. I love building all those. So yeah, so we can dig into either of them. Connor the Native Man, do you have a preference? Aircraft, tanks, something else? Let me know in the chat what you like to build. All right. Just to give you kind of an update with what's going on right now. Mirage 2000, I went ahead and got some 3D decals. These are the ones from, the name is eluding me right now. Oh yeah, Quinta Studios. These are very nice. I painted the inside kind of a gray color. It turned out the 3D decals were a little bit on the bluer side. So I opted to go ahead and match them since I felt that was more important than worrying about, you know, perfectly accurate gray. So I added, they were gray on the interior here, and then I added some artist oils, a little bit of blue mixed in with some white and a little bit of black. And that gave me just the right kind of blue-gray and just lightly went over some of the gray surfaces. And that's how I was able to get it to sort of blend with the 3D decals here. So pretty happy how that turned out. Not all of the decals are in there. There's a few more control dials that should go along the side here, but I wanted to wait until I got the seat in to really kind of dig into those. And then the fuselage went together, not easily, I will have to say. It's been a little bit of some work. I put the fuselage together, put the wings together, and then mated the wings on afterwards. There's kind of, all right, great, Connor, appreciate that. Kind of an interesting way to go about wings. I know at times I will actually, since these are there's a half of wing here and then the other half of the wings on this side, it actually works well to mate the top of the wings to the fuselage and then the bottom portion of the wings to the fuselage separately, take care of those seams, and then mate them together so that we work on this seam here. But at this time I just went ahead and went with what the instructions said and ended up with a pretty nasty seam along here. And luckily, with the use of some CA, just cyanacrylate, your standard super glue, and a toothpick, I put just a drop of super glue here, drop there, to use the toothpick to sort of run it down into the seam. So the seams are now completely filled. And the idea here is that we have a very smooth surface, and then I'm going to rescribe the seams. So that's one of the plans. I might not do that tonight, but we'll see. I did have a couple of ways to deal with it tonight. I do have my Tamiya scriber, which I like to use. It's not the only scriber I use, but this one, this is a brand new one I got. I had one from before, from many years ago, and it was just time to go ahead and get a new one with some new blades. So, and if you don't know about these, they keep the blades in here, spare blades in there. There's about two that come with it, and then this one that's already installed. But this scriber is very nice, gets the job done for sure. One plan was to use Dymo tape, which is this sort of flexible, well, it flexes this way, but it's very hard. It's kind of a very hard surface. And then you just tape it on, and it does a really nice job of allowing you to have a straight edge for scribing. I could also just use this sort of, this is tape that's used to sort of make curves. This is a little bit, not so great though as a straight edge. I want something a little bit more firm. And then I've got this piece of metal, which ironically had the saws, these Tamiya saws on it, which were also for scribing. But the piece of metal that they were attached to turns out to be a really great tool for scribing as well. So I might just go ahead and tape this down. This, I think, ultimately is the safest way to go. I'm not really going to dig into the metal. I've had experience with these before. Dymo tape usually works really well, but I have dug too far into the tape and actually, dug out pieces, and it wasn't so great as a straight edge. But anyway, these are some of the options that I have. I tried to, when I was dropping the glue in, I was trying to avoid a lot of these little holes. I didn't want to have to deal with them. And I'm going to show you here, kind of getting up nice and close. They're not just holes, but they're sort of rings, indented rings. And it was going to be pretty tricky to simulate. So yeah, I decided to just be as careful as I could to avoid them and simply get the glue into the seam. I accelerate the glue with Zip Kicker. This accelerates the drying time for any CA. It's amazing. I have a large bottle of it actually, and I've had it in this jar now for probably 6 years, 6 or 7 years, and this is all I've used up. I mean, was probably about half full. You can see I've got a lot of glue spots and paint spots up here, but about half full, and I'm down to about a quarter left. So this stuff lasts forever. And I have a really nice trick that I like to use with that stuff too. It comes most often in a spray bottle. And you would sit there, add your glue, and then shoot this stuff on it, and most of it wasn't actually touching the glue. It wasn't useful at all. So I decided to put it into this container, and then I will bite the toothpick, like so. Oh, try not to take a piece off. But then you get this sort of feathered edge. And then I'll dip it into there, and it holds just enough, a nice drop of it, and I'll just run it across the part where the glue is, and it dries instantly. I mean, literally 2 seconds at the most. Really, really great stuff. If you like working with super glue on a regular basis, I really recommend just getting a bottle of Zip Kicker. Okay, love that stuff. And so yeah, literally this side of the toothpick, I'll apply the glue and then dip, and I'm ready to go. You don't want to put any of that stuff in your mouth, so be really careful not to, I don't know, reapply it or whatever. Okay, so that's where we're at. I have left these other parts unglued, as you can see here. Here, this all needs to be reglued, and this section needs to be reglued as well. I wanted to deal with the wings first, get them taken care of, put the vertical tail together, figure out some of the intakes and get them in place, and then start moving these things into place and getting them locked in. It's really important for me to take my time with seams. My models, I like to enter them in contests, in local contests, IPMS contests. And one of the things that we really look for in models, I also judge occasionally. One of the things that we look for is that the seam work is really good. And so there's just that sort of level of detail that I'm always striving for with my models. It doesn't mean I'm going to bring every model to the contest, but like for instance, in June, we're going to have one at a local chapter, and I think I'm bringing about 7 or 8 at this point. So almost all of them, I think, are ready to be shown at contests. And it's not about winning. It's about, you know, presenting, showing people the work you do. I always have an absolute blast at model contests. If you've never been, I suggest you give them a try. Have you ever been, Connor, by the way? Let me know if you have or not. But if you haven't, there's always raffles. There are vendors. They're selling stuff, usually for, you know, relatively cheap. And just make a lot of good friends. And I love going and showing my friends what I've been working on, checking out what they've been working on. And you go from like 9 to 5. I mean, it's just a blast. A great way to spend a Saturday, you know, talking to people about models. You can't really go wrong. All right, so that's possible. Okay. This Sunday, awesome. How fun. Oh, yeah, ours are typically on Saturdays. And I drag the whole family with me, so my wife and kids, all 3 kids. My kids like it. They enter sometimes as well. They're really young, so they, you know, they just get excited to see their stuff on the table, which is great. I love that. But yeah, it's a long day, but it's kind of, you know, wife gets to go to Disneyland, gets to take us to Disneyland. I get to take everybody to the model contest. So it's a nice balance for us. Yeah, here's the T80 I've been working on. The construction kind of up to this point, I did, my latest video shows me putting everything together almost up to this point without the wheels. The wheels are a recent addition. The paint is a recent addition as well. I needed to get the green on. Sorry, Eric. Good to see you, man. I wanted to get the paint on and be able to get the wheels on and the tracks going, and then seal up with these side skirts here on the side. Let me double check. Yeah, it's gonna go like that. Okay, so I needed to get everything painted and ready to go before I can get these on and then worry about the upper surfaces, okay? So I've been working to get these side skirts done. They're both finished. I'll talk to you a little bit about what I did with those. But yeah, been working on tracks. Here we are, that's what I've got. These 2 are what I have done so far. Yeah, awesome, Connor. Yeah, I always got to do finishing touches. Like, I'll see them in the case. I don't know if this happens to you, but I'll see them in the case. I'll be like, okay, I'm taking this one, right? Taking that one. And then I put them in a box. And then all of a sudden I'm in a different lighting situation. It might be in the family room, you know. And I look at them and go, oh, I see some paint missing there. Or I see, you know, so you start to see those little things. And yeah, for me, Friday night is like touch-up night, making sure everything's ready to go. Everything's like in their box, but I want to make sure that, you know, it looks good from where it is. And yeah. And then hopefully nothing falls off in them. I just put them like in the driver's or the passenger side of my car. And all the kids will usually be with my wife in the other car. They'll come later after all their naps have been done. And I'm just driving real slow, you know, good 15 minutes away. And yeah, it's fun. It's always treacherous though, that car ride. Hoping it's not too bouncy. All right, so yeah, these are the tracks. These are the tracks that came in the kit. I bought the trumpeter movable tracks and hate them. I mean, absolutely hate them. I used the trumpeter tracks for the M1 Abrams years ago, loved it. They had, if I remember right, they had these little connector parts here they are here. These were, you know, you'd add them to the 2 pieces, right? And they were black and they were like a rubber or like a vinyl. And so you put them on and they would stay, and then you can move the tracks and, right? These tracks, they don't stay. They're just straight plastic, so there's no sort of, they don't squeeze like vinyl does, right? And so I put them on and they just slip right off, you know, and I could sit there and flex this whole thing and all the pieces would just fall apart. So, all right, so the plan was to, you know, and then you can just glue them, but then I realized I'm adding more steps rather than just using the tracks that came in the kit. Let me show you what I mean. The tracks that came in the kit already had the connectors on them. So all I have to do is basically put them together and then glue and I'm ready to go. Okay, actually it's upside down, but you get the idea. All right. With these other ones, you know, I've got to put two together and then I have to put a connector on either side. And then I'm going to end up gluing them anyway. So I was like, what is the point? So I decided, if you've ever done these tracks before, one of the problems with these is as you start to curve, let me show you here, as you start to curve, this connector should be at an angle, should be sloped with the curve. And since they're already on and fused, they don't have that give to them, okay? So I decided to do a combination of both. So the so-called movable tracks are going to be used for the edge here. And you can see that they're a little bit offset, right? They're going with the flow, the angle of the track bend, okay? And then for the straight ones, I'm just going to use the normal kit provided pieces because it doesn't matter, okay? So that's the plan. I started it last night. I started putting them together. They're working out well, actually. I'm very, very pleased. I started just kind of conformed them around. And yeah, I think they're gonna work okay. You can see they fit pretty nice. Now, one drawback, and I didn't notice this until I started putting them on, I was like, is that the pins that are free, this one was connected, there's one here, you can see it's missing a pin. That's because it was one of the bendable tracks and connecting to the non-bendable track. So I need to add a little piece of styrene there, which won't be a big deal. But these connectors that are loose are larger than the ones that are molded to the piece. So that's the only drawback. It's not big enough. You can probably even only tell slightly in the camera. So I'm not too concerned about it, okay? But yeah, I'm able to conform them and get the nice shape finally. Eric, let's see your question. Do you prefer the fixed tracks or the rubbery ones if the kit offers? Okay, yeah. If this kit had rubber tracks, I would have gone with rubber tracks. The reason is I'm going to do all this work and we're only going to see this much. In fact, there's a really great modeler. I think his name is Dukes, if I remember correctly. He's online. He has a website and stuff. He built the same thing and he just left these tracks off. He didn't even mess with it. So I'm not going to do that. Again, I like to build, sort of ready for contests. So just in fear that somebody might go, oh, let me shine a flashlight up in there, right? I'm going to go ahead and add the tracks, okay? But because there's so few tracks that are going to be seen, I think I would just go ahead and go with the rubber, and also the frustration of these tracks is in general. Now, I do prefer the individual link tracks. I prefer, my absolute favorite are Friel model, which are metal tracks, or R model, which is a company in China. And those are metal tracks as well. And those are outstanding. I love the metal tracks. They're totally movable. They have weight to them like actual tracks. So there's a little bit of a sag in between these rollers, which isn't always, you don't always want sag. On the modern vehicles, there is no sag. But, World War II vehicle, having a little sag is totally appropriate. So those are my absolute favorite. The next are the plastic ones, but if they have the little vinyl connectors, like some of the trumpeter kits have, those are prefer over these. And then also, if you build tanks, there are also sets that come with they'll be pre-made this portion, and then they'll have this portion, and you have to like put them together. And it seems like, oh, well, that takes away a lot of the work, but actually the fit doesn't end up being great. For these suspension arms, there is some play. Usually you can kind of move up and down, and they've molded it to be in a certain position, and you have to pretty much match that position spot on in order for those to fit well. So that's my take on tracks. Ultimately, I'd rather have metal tracks. Can't always get them. Eric, stuck on the tracks on my King Tiger, and it's pretty intimidating to a novice modeler such as myself. Yeah, totally intimidating. I get it. And it's tedious. I mean, that's the thing. You got to spend, like, I spent, I don't know, a good 40 minutes just clipping these off. And then, you know, you clip them off, but now you have to, because there are little pieces of plastic left over from the sprue. And, you know, maybe you say, okay, well, they're not going to be seen, so it's not a big deal. But you start to put these together, and you have these little bits that are in there, and they're causing the track to not sit properly. So what I'll do is I'll sand here, about 6 or 7 swipes, 6 or 7 swipes, 6 or 7 swipes, 6 or 7 swipes, 80 of these per side of the track, 160 of these. It gets pretty tedious. But once I start seeing stuff like this, I start to get pretty hopeful. I feel like, okay, it's starting to come together. That said, with this particular one, they also have these rings, which you also get, you get to glue on yourself. So everything is bent together, and then after the fact, I'll go ahead and put these on, because I do need the angle of these, again, to follow, you can see follow the contour of the track, right? So again, I'll put these on, a little spot of glue, bam, just kind of go all the way down the line. So tedious, definitely. Patience is the name of the game. You know, be somewhere, I don't know, you're in front of a TV or something where you're like not just focused on this. Maybe you can like sand and do something else at the same time. That's one of the tricks. Hey Munger, welcome. All right, great. Good to see you. Thanks for joining me, everyone. All right, so I think the trick is to, I think what I'm gonna do now is, I don't know. Oh, let me talk about the side skirts a little bit here. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So a lot of pin marks you can see underneath. Normally I would care about this. I would take care of them. I decided to leave them. Yeah, it's really strange. I'm really just not one to leave pin marks, but I'm just at the point where, you know, with the tracks in there and the wheels in there, I've got so many hours in the day where I'm going to be able to worry about it. Okay. So pin marks are there. Oh yeah. Okay. On these vehicles, there are these little, points right here. There's like ribbing, okay? And if these containers weren't here, these would be free and we'd be able to see them. And but they gave us a couple of them on each side in the kit. So one here, one here, one here. And they were very thick. And what I decided to do was just sand them down. So in a future video, you'll see me sort of working these down and getting them, you know, sort of paper thin. These should be really thin sheet metal. And I always like, if I can replicate the thinness of these little pieces, I will just go right ahead and do it. Okay, so I attach them and then put these pieces on top, and you can see they just look relatively thin, and to me that looks much more realistic. And so that's one of the things I like to do with models, is to make things thinner so they look more realistic. There are a few other things. There's a piece of spare track that needs to be here. There's gonna be a bunch of PE buckles that go along here, and a few other pieces, but those things I can deal with. I don't wanna put them on now, because when I start putting everything together, there's gonna be a little bit of fussing, and the last thing I need to deal with is photo etch parts popping off, right? So that'll be all done sort of after the fact. And then just to review a little bit, yeah, I got these are the ERA, the explosive reactive armor blocks. They're on. I looked at a bunch of pictures of this vehicle and saw that some were just in slightly different positions than as others. It's not like somebody, you know, took a measuring tape and figured out exactly where they should. They just, you know, put them down as best they could and get as many of them on there as they could. So I kind of followed, you know, what I saw in the pictures and just tried to match it well. Let's see. Oh yeah. In my previous video, you may have heard me talking about these grills and what a pain they were. So let me just mention that real quick. These were oversized. Okay, first of all, these grills should be one piece of mesh, and then this plastic is just ribbing that goes atop it. Now, if I had the right kind of mesh, I actually don't. All the mesh I have is a little bit larger than these. If I had the right type, I would just have taken off, or actually probably drilled out this whole area, laid the mesh down, and then added plastic styrene strips. But I decided that was just it wasn't gonna fit since I didn't quite have the right kind of mesh. So I decided to go with what was in the kit, and these were all too large. So to fix that, I not only clipped a little sliver of metal off of each side, but also had to get in and scrape off a lot of the plastic on each of these ribs. And that was, with all that work, this is how it ended up. I think it looks okay. Not all of them are angled perfectly, but again, looking at the real vehicle, I'm sure people were walking around here setting things on them. In fact, I built a T-54, and I saw a lot of photos of those, and a lot of these pieces were broken, and they were, you know, as if somebody put something down, they would just break the grill. So I'm not going to be too worried about it. I don't know that I'm going to go so far as breaking some of these, because this will be a vehicle in either the 80s or the early 90s. They were stationed in East Germany as well as Poland. So I think I'm going to depict a vehicle from those places. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of damage on these. They're not exactly war-torn. Yeah, so that's going to be the plan. Ultimately, by the way, I want to let you know, my dream with this, and we'll see if it comes to fruition or not, but is to get it and put it on a base, have it on a road, have dirt on the side of the road, maybe have some fences, maybe some signs, and then I'd really like to go and try to make a large tree to sort of hang over the vehicle. So that's the plan. The plan is to depict a sort of a parked vehicle on the road somewhere either in Poland or East Germany, okay? So we'll see, fingers crossed. Hopefully we get to that point. There's some really neat ways that I've been looking at to make trees using wire, and then dipping that wire into like a vinyl, what's it called? There's a material that you can get for your tweezers, and it's like a silicone coating. And I think you just have a big vat of this, and you just dip the tree into there, and it fills in the wires and makes it look like a tree, and then you get to kind of scribe and paint it, and I think that'll be a lot of fun to tackle. So yeah, that's the plan. Anyway, all right. Yeah, good question, Connor the Native Man. Am I going to paint the ERA tracks a different green? Yeah. That's the thing to do. Some of these things were different shades, and so I'll definitely pick out one, or you know, every 5 or so I'll pick out one to have a slightly different shade. I think it looks really good, and it seems to match our references, and it's certainly the thing to do nowadays with T80s and T90s. Yeah, these ERA blocks. Yeah, and then we'll, you know, I won't go super crazy on the weathering, but you know, I'll have some dirt coming up. I don't know. Actually, I haven't decided. Since it's going to be on a road, I don't think these. I did watch actually some great videos. There's some videos of them in. I'm pretty sure it's East Germany, and they're in a proving ground, and they're just letting these things like jump off of a berm, you know, and just see how fast they can go. And they're just getting a chance to kind of practice. And I'm sure they would do that, you know, every now and then just to make sure that they're, you know, war ready at the wall. So yeah, there's a pretty cool video online on YouTube. Check out T80s, you know. I think just we're typing T80 in the video and or in the search, it'll show up at some point. Pretty cool. Yeah, these things were fast too. But that's the only, you know, I imagine the only time that they really got dirt on them was at these proving grounds. All right. Okay, let's see. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back to the Mirage 2000. And I'm going to go ahead and start scribing these lines back in. Okay. As I mentioned at the opening of our live stream, I filled these in with CA with cyanacrylate super glue. And then just put a drop of them with the toothpick, a drop of glue here, and then use some zip kicker to accelerate it. Dried in 2 seconds, you know, put another drop, a couple drops here, accelerate, and then just filled it in and then worked it down with some sanding sticks. I absolutely love sanding sticks. It's my way to bring, you know, to sand. I'll use sandpaper occasionally if I need to make a certain contour or shape or something, but this is 95% of what I'm using to bring down material. All right, and just got it. It's super smooth right now. Super smooth. That's what we want, okay? And you can still see, what's nice about super glue is that I didn't cover, you know, it's clear. So I can see the seam here where I want to rescribe all the way up to here, okay? And as I said, I think for this, I've got a couple of options. Dymo tape is really good for this. This is what I think most people are using regularly, but I want to use a metal straight edge and tape it down or hold it down if I trust my motor skills. We'll see. I think, you know, like right there, hold it down and then use my scriber and drag along it a couple times. Okay, and that should work. All right, a couple things with scribing. This is a new scriber. I know it's going to be sharp. Not too worried about that. You do want to make sure, though, your scribers are sharp. I do like to sharpen them. I'm a big fan of sharpening my side cutters with files and sanding sticks. They get worn out pretty quickly. I think they get worn out quicker than we realize, so I like to take care of them. And I've got another little scriber. This one I'll sharpen occasionally as well. This helps me get into... So I'm going to have a problem with the Tamiya scriber, let me be clear. I'm going to go in this direction, and then I'm going to only deal with the lines that go in this direction for now. But then later on, I'm going to have to come back and take care of the lines that go this way. And there's only 2, and they're real small, and I cannot get in there with this tool. And I don't think I can extend it any further. Let's see here. Maybe I can. That'd be nice, actually. Nope. It's only, yep, that's it. Okay, it's as far out as it'll go. So I need to have another tool ready to go, and this will be the one that I use for that, okay? I might not tackle that today. I don't know how I feel about it. You really want to, you know, when you do this, you want to have the confidence that it's going to go well. All right, but let's see. Let me find some tape. Got lots of choices here. Okay, I think I'm just going to go with plain old Tamiya tape. And I think the thicker tape's going to be better. A little more surface area to stick. Okay. Tamiya tape can be expensive. I understand people cringing. You know, actually, come to think of it, I've got some painter's tape. Yeah, this might actually work better, and then I'm not wasting money. All right, let's start there. Keep a piece ready. And I think I'm gonna start, so what I'm noticing has me a little bit worried is that there's an angle to this. So I feel like it's not gonna, I should not use a straight line. I don't even think I'm gonna be able to achieve. And I don't think it's just going over the contour. I think it's literally, no, okay, hang on. Maybe it would work. Nope, it looks like it's okay. It looks like a straight line. It's just one of those things where it's tricking the eyes. Oh, it's a Mirage. Never mind. All right. Yeah, I think that ends up being a straight line. It's just folding over the curve of the aircraft. Okay, perfect. And then this one's a straight line, and this one comes out just a little bit. All right, why don't I start here? I'll start with the big one. But for me, I want to start on the left side of the aircraft. So you can probably tell I'm nervous doing this, but let's do it. Let's get it done. Nope. Let's reset. Let's see if I can bring closer here. All right. And you know what? If I don't get perfectly on, it's not going to matter. As long as, I mean, I'm going to want to go as best, I want to get as close as I can. But, all right. I think that'll work. Yep. I'm not feeling it move back and forth at all. All right, so I'm going to pull this way. I'm not going to actually start off of the vehicle. I don't want to grab it and pick up any plastic and pull it off. I just want to lightly scribe, and I might go back and forth. Okay, and I'm really going to let the weight of the tool do the work. Okay, I'm not trying to create any sort of depth here. I'm just a starting place. Okay, so just set it there. And I also don't want to angle it differently. I don't want to push it to the right. I just want to let it sit against the metal here. Let's do that one more time. Okay, taking my time. Take time. You can see some plastics come up. All right, here we go. Okay. Now, the problem that I'm having is I'm having a hard time seeing exactly how far I need to go. Okay, yeah, it's right there. Let me just put a piece of tape there for me. I would like to not go beyond it. If I go beyond it, it's not the end of the world. Just as the seam could be filled with CA, I can fill this up with CA as well and start over if I needed to, okay? Or just fill in that little spot. All right, that's good. It's really important that the surface is smooth. Okay, good, we're picking up a little bit more. I'm applying just a little bit more pressure here. And I'm just gonna go back against, and one or two more times I think should do it. Sometimes a nice piece of plastic kind of rolls out with the tool, which always looks pretty cool. But I think this is doing the job. All right, good. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to go crazy. I don't want to get too deep. Now I'm going to work this way and out. Out. Lift a little bit. Okay. I could also come at it from this angle, but I'm not going to. I think what I've done is just enough. All right, now, here's the nice part. I'm gonna take everything off, and if for some reason I need it scribed deeper, I've already got it going, so I could just find it you know, set it down and go again, even without the straight edge, okay? There we go. It seems like freehand, but it's really not, okay? Just want to make sure I don't go too far. Up to here, okay. Oh yeah, it's not bringing up a spool of plastic because it's not plastic. It's hardened super glue. All right, good. I'm going to leave that for now. Now it's hard to see that it's there, but I know it's present. So I feel confident that, you know, once everything gets painted, I'll start to see it better. And then once I do washes and stuff, it'll certainly come out as well. Okay. The panel lines on the model here are actually pretty extreme for my tastes. They're pretty big. You can see here especially. I mean, it just doesn't look like real panel lines to me. That's all right. Even given that, I will still go over and add a wash and make them even more exaggerated. All right. Good, we got some other folks joining us today. Oh, Mike, hey man, good to see you. Great. Charlie GRS, modeling's all about nerves. Boy, is that true. Devo, Devo, it's more entertaining. Yeah, the Coachella live stream. Yeah, I imagine it is, good. Oh, Charlie Girls, that was satisfying, huh? Good, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so now I'm just gonna work with the same piece of tape. I think it's strong enough. I'm feeling pretty good about this. So let's go to the other side. Okay. Thanks for the support, everyone. And again, I want to add a piece of tape so I know just how far I need to go. Just comparing with the other side real quick. Right about there. Okay. And again, if I go too far, it's not the end of the world. I can go over it again with some super glue. All right, and let it sit in that little spot right there and pull. Good. Some C's coming up. Oh, okay, started to stray a little bit. I need to make sure that I am, you know, I kind of want to angle down so that I'm using the benefit of gravity here. Yeah, you know what? It's not feeling right. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try this again. Let me go against this edge. Okay, now I've got the benefit of gravity. Okay, so now I'm gonna, and just the weight of the tool should be enough for now. I mean, you can hear it, right? And I think probably just one more will do it. There's no reason to go super deep. All right, come off. Let's do two more here. That's actually pretty good. Let me do just one little one. All right, good, great. And that's how we scribe, or that's how I scribe, okay? Remember, my channel isn't about telling you what to do or how to do something. It's just showing you what I do, right? And so maybe, hopefully, you know, I can help if there was something that you weren't sure how to do, that I can help you along with that. But it's, you know, I'm not purporting to be an expert in all techniques. All right. So I'll tell you what. I'm happy with how that turned out. I don't want this to be, yeah, I know that's you, Tim. You don't have to tell me. I recognize your name, bud. Right on. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave the rest of the scribing for another time. And I think, you know what I might do? Yeah, let's do this. There's a little bit more that I can glue on this vehicle. I mean, I mentioned it at the top of the live stream. But there is Like this section I've left unglued because I wanted to have some give when I add other parts. This part, I mean, this is atrocious right here, this big old seam. I'm squeezing it pretty hard, and that's about all I get. That's, you know, so I don't know exactly what's going on there, if it's the fit of the fuse of the cockpit in there. Something's off though. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of, it was just a lot of work getting this cockpit to fit in the right spot. And take a look at this. I mean, look at this wheel bay. It's terrible. Okay, there are details which I appreciate, but these big old pen marks. It was gonna be really difficult to deal with those. Initially, I thought, you know, I'm just going to rebuild this entire section, because really there's this dip in here. It's like a lower section. That lower section should start right about here, and these two boxes should be down in the lower section. And there should be all kinds of tubing, and then of course, you know, wires, which we would normally add those anyway. But I just decided there's just too much work. Those pin marks, already had me like, you know, a little fuming. So I looked at a lot of my references for this vehicle when it's just sitting there, and a lot of them just had this door closed. And I thought, okay, I'm just gonna close the door. I'm gonna leave the wheel strut down, this door closed, and there's a little door here for the strut, and I'm gonna leave that open. Yeah, why do the fit issues exist? Is it poor design, or is there some variation from our kit, from one kit to the next? That's a good question. I'm going to say that it was my fault. I don't know if it's my fault, but it's really hard. Unless I had, like, it was me working on this and then like another or two modelers working on the same kit, unless we were both working it and all three of us came up with the same problem, I'm gonna say it was somehow I didn't get the part to fit well. But I really took a lot of time on it. So my gut says that the kit is off, but I don't, you know, again, it could be anything. I don't know. I don't have enough evidence to say it was the kit's fault. But you know, you may look online and other people will let you know their experiences with these vehicles, with these particular kits. Kinetic is generally a very good kit. I mean, the detail's really nice. It's so surprising when you get a kit that looks so great, is so up to date. And then you get fit issues. My feeling is like, I wonder if it's something I did, right? But that's not necessarily the case. Like, just because the detail looks nice doesn't mean that there aren't fit issues. Not every kit is gonna be a Tamiya. And if you've built Tamiya, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, so it's really hard to say. All right, good question though. So I'm not gonna glue these yet. I think what I'll do though, I don't know if that's interesting. Oh, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna add some details in the main gear bay doors. There's definitely a lot of ribbing that needs to happen here, and then some other cables and wires and stuff. So I'll be adding those. But again, I mean, this vehicle is gonna sit pretty low. Unless I were to put a mirror down here, we're not really gonna see a lot of that detail, but that's just for my own fun, is to add some detail in there. But this one I'm gonna close up. Yeah. And then, you know, the Mirage, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there was I'm pretty sure it was a monogram kit of the Mirage 2000 back in probably in the 90s. And I just remember seeing it as a kid and I mean, the box art of monogram kits was just like so amazing. You know, they're always in flight. They're always kind of coming at you, you know. Where are we at here? Yeah, coming at you. Yeah, you know, and then there was like that blue background, and they just look so cool. So I just remember seeing that kit as a kid, and that's really, you know, that's what inspires me to build kits nowadays. Yeah, it was monogram, Mike. Yep. Is just these memories, you know, when I was a kid, just wanting to like build certain vehicles. I didn't get to build everything I wanted, you know, I'm sure we all have experienced that. And now I'm at a point where I can build, you know, I can get them. So I'm kind of going through my memories and going, oh yeah, I really liked the SU-25 Frogfoot. I really liked, you know, the Mirage 2000. Yeah. And there's just this aircraft, I mean, the paint scheme is beautiful on this thing. I'll show you this reference that I have. Highly recommend it, by the way. Duke Hawkins does a series of, oh, there we go, okay. A series of these books, okay? This is phenomenal. I picked it up on Amazon, not really knowing if it was gonna be great, because sometimes, you know, sometimes books, maybe there's not enough walk-around photos, maybe there's not enough in-action photos. But this one, I mean, it has it all. Here's, you know, great cockpit shots. Oh, sorry, I'm not, there we go, great cockpit shots. Here's, you know, here's if you want to really like open up some hatches and stuff. Sorry, I'm not used to the screen yet. And then some in-action shots, you know. Let me see what one I really like in particular. Yeah. Okay, just to give you an idea. So really, really beautiful book. I mean, it even smells nice. Like this is a treat to have in my library. And this, I mean, this vehicle is, they've got the green gray tone here, but for me, what really, you know, says Mirage 2000 is this gray and blue tone. That blue, I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah, there we go, okay. Yeah. This gray and blue tone here, I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is even a better shot here, yeah. I don't have a lot of aircraft that have blue on them, so I'm really, I don't know, I'm just really, really excited about that. And so, you know, again, another reason to kind of forego the issue here. This is a kit where I care a lot about the exterior, not so much about all of the interior pieces. But that said, I did want to show you, for those of you that are joining us for the first time today, these are the 3D decals by Quinta? Okay, yeah, Quinta Studios. These are amazing. Edward also makes 3D decals, but I've heard, yeah, the box art was gray and light blue. Yep, you're absolutely right, Mike. Right on. I've heard that there are some Edward 3D sets that are decent, but my experience has been that they're very pixelated. These Quinta Studio ones are pristine. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. And as I talked about last week, the interior gray that they give is a little bit of a bluish color. And what I painted initially, I tried to match it as best I could, but even when I was talking to the group on the live stream last week, I said, you know, I think the paint I did was a little bit too gray. And in fact, yeah, I didn't quite catch the blue. So what I did was took my artist oils. I used the Winton, the Winsor & Newton. Took some blue, some white, and a little bit of black to make just the right match. And then I basically lightly scuffed it over all of the areas that were airbrushed gray. All down here on the side of the control panels. And now it's blended perfectly. It looks great. And to me, I think it's more important to match the color of the 3D decals than say, well, they're off, so I'm going to paint the rest of the interior the right gray. I went to match with the 3D decals. I think it looks great. So, and then just to show you what's going to go inside, here's the injection seat, and I think it looks pretty good. Last week I applied the wash and showed everybody how I did that, and then removed it, and now it has a flat coat on it. And I thinned out the sides of it here on the inside. So this cushion was off of the piece. And so I went with a knife and scraped the inside just to get, again, that sort of sheet metal look, right? They were very, very thick in the kit. Surprisingly, this did come out of the kit. It's not a resin seat. It's very good to begin with. And the 3D decals came with pieces to go onto the seat, and I've got them here. Okay, so seat belts with buckles. There's a little, the ejector I can't remember what that's called right now, the ejector strap that goes between your legs, and then the cushions, and they're that green color. I might not use all of these. I think the cushions I'll use. I might make my own straps because I think I can make them look better than what are here. But this is decent as well. The buckles are okay. My main issue really is that they do 3D decals for these warning and danger signs that go on the top of the seat here. And those should just be thin, regular decals in my opinion. But anyway, so I'll play around with some stuff that I've got lying around, some decals I have lying around, and then I'll try to make my own straps as well. Okay, so yeah, anyway, and you can see that the seat is a different color than the interior, and that's correct. These should be a different color. More gray, a little bit darker, excuse me. And it fits nicely. It goes right inside, and then we'll have the control stick right in front. All right, so that's gonna work out well. All right. Well, we're at an hour here. I think we're gonna go for another 20 minutes or so. Did those 3D decals come with the kit? No, they did not. No, those are aftermarket. I'm forgetting exactly how much they were. It's somewhere between 10 and 20 bucks. So it's an investment. For me, I really like to have cockpits look. I mean, for me, that's what the aircraft is. It's the exterior and it's the cockpit. And I'm like addicted to these 3D decals. It doesn't mean I'm going to do 3D decals for every kit. But I will say the last 2 or 3 I've used 3D decals. And so there's definitely a pattern there. It's a lot of fun to paint control panels and all the side control panels as well. I really have a good time doing that. I have some techniques to make them look really great. The brand of the decals was Quinta Studios. It's called Quinta Studios. Yeah, and then like I said, Edward also makes, I think they're called Look. They're Edward Look 3D decals. And I think those are the only 2 companies. I'm sure there's other companies out there. Those are the 2 big ones right now that make 3D decals. And the Mirage kit is by Kinetic. And you can see it back there, the blue box. That's the one I got, the 2000C. And again, I got the C. I didn't want to make an updated version of the vehicle, a 2-seater. I'm just like Mike can attest, I'm going with the monogram box art, that original 2000. I'm pretty sure it was a 2000C. It was either that or a B. But I like to build those older versions because of nostalgia, and often I'll backdate kits. Oh no, that's too new. It's got too much, I've got an M3A3 Bradley, M3A3 Bradley with, all the latest armor on it, really souped up. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't really want to build it because I've got the M2A2 from the old Tamiya kit. And I built that one and I built it up and I did a lot of stuff to it to make it look right. And that to me is what a Bradley is. A Bradley's an M2A2. It's not an M3A3. I don't know. So I'm just into the older versions of these vehicles a lot of times because I'm looking back to the 80s and the 90s. I'd rather build an A6A Intruder than an A6E. Those older ones are what I'm into. Which is nice. So it I don't have to get the latest and greatest upgrades all the time. So anyway, how are we doing out there? Everybody having a good time? Probably talking a lot. It sometimes happens. In the chat, if you could just let me know what you're working on. I'd like to know. And then let me know what your focus is. So if you like to focus on World War II armor or modern jets or World War I biplanes, whatever it is, submarines, let me know. Enter that in the chat. I'd like to know more about what you're doing. And then what you're also working on, or maybe the last thing you worked on, because I know we're not always working on models, even though I try. All right. Oh, I will put another thing too here. There was these seams here. This section came separate. And so there were seams here, and you can see I put shims here. There's a little bit of white plastic on one side. Filled it with, before I put it on, I mated it to the side, to the piece, and then filled it with CA and sanded it down so that it gave a little bit more. It brought it a little bit closer to the edge of this part of the wing. This one didn't work so great. It fit better though once I got that shim in there. But again, yeah, just some little fit issues. The reason why these pieces are different, this kit actually, so the Kinetic, they offer different versions of the Mirage. So they have the 2000C, they have two-seaters, they have, I think it's 2000D, there's all kinds of like different variants. And so you may know this, but what they do in kits is they'll provide you with the sprue or with the trees that you need for that model, but they have other trees that they'll throw into the other kits for the other variants. The overall body may be the same in all the kits, right? So this section, yes, they could have had it mated already to the wing, to the delta wing here, but I have a feeling that there was something about this that was different in the other variants. That said, the kit that I have has a lot of trees, and there's a lot of extra parts. And so what's nice is if you messed up the control panel, it may not be exactly the one for your aircraft, but there are a lot of extra parts that you get to kind of work with. So that's a plus when they just give you extra pieces. Yeah, Edward Super Fabric. Yeah, I've seen that a little bit. I'm totally interested in those. And so my understanding is that the harnesses are made of a fabric, just like the real thing, and that's impressive. The paint. So the paint was its adhesive. Okay. Yeah, I really like the Quinta sets. Yeah, I recommend them. Yeah, that's true, Eric. Good point. What we're doing is we are putting the pieces together. So why would the pieces be together to begin with? Fair enough. Eric, you're working on King Tiger tank. On deck is Mosquito plane from World War II. And is that the Tamiya? I think that's the Tamiya. Yeah, I think we've talked about that. Or wait, Tim and I sent you that one, didn't we? Wasn't that a gift? Glad to see you're working on that King Tiger. And glad that Mosquito's up next. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Anybody else build that Tamiya Mosquito kit? It's really terrific. Only bummer with it is the cockpit. You put all this work into it, and then you get that canopy on top, and it's like, oh, I can barely see anything in there. So you're very welcome, Eric. That's what it is to have friends who build models. You're going to get a bunch of models for gifts. So right on. Yeah, that was the only bummer of the Mosquito kit. I really liked it though. One of these days I'll build another one. All right, let's do this. Let's do some building. I'm going to deal with this back section here, and I'm going to get these pieces. When I squeeze them, I mean, it looks like the fit's going to be okay. But what I really want, and this right here is where I'm like, ugh. This piece came like that. I know that I did not dig that out with a knife or anything. So I'm gonna have to rebuild that a little bit. But I feel like, well, you know what? All of these seams, let me double check my mind here. This seam should not be here, I'm sure of that. There probably should be a seam, a light seam here. I don't even know if I'll be able to find it. You know what? Actually, maybe I can't find a photo of it. Oh, flexible 3D material, not actual fabric. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because they called it fabric, so I was like, oh, okay. But flexible 3D material, I'm sure looks amazing. Yeah, I got to look into that stuff and see what that's all about. All right, there is a shot. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Sometimes it's difficult to find shots of the underside seams, but this one, it's got it in flight, right? And I wonder if we can... Yeah, you can see here, right? This tail section looks a little different, right? But what I'm seeing is a seam here, but I'm not seeing a seam here. There are going to be, oh, let me remind you, there are going to be other pieces that connect here as well. But given that, I think I'm still just going to go ahead and fill all this in. Yeah. All right. So let's do it. There's so much pressure on these pieces. You know, it takes a lot of force to like get it to this level. So I am going to go with CA. Normally, you know, you can just use Tamiya extra thin cement, you know, quick setting or the non-quick setting, doesn't really matter. And, you know, fill in those seams that way. But I feel like even if I sat here and held it for like 10 minutes, I let go and it would just break. So I'm going to use CA. Okay. I'm going to double check the fit here of the engine. Yeah, it's going to be fine. Yeah, that's going to be fine. Good. Okay, won't affect this at all. They give you two engines here, two these turkey feathers, I think we call them sometimes. One is closed, so like in flight, and the other, or being tested or whatever, and this one is opened up. And this one, the detail on the inside, on the ribbing, there's some mishaps that happened here on the molding. This one was really clean, so I was hoping to find a way to maybe remove this and put it on there, but it's just going to be too much of a hassle, so I decided to leave it. But in search of thin sheet metal, right, I did bring this down on the inside. This lip was very thick. It was actually, yeah, about as thick as, no, it was thicker than that. But this rim, yeah, was quite thick, so I brought it down. I might actually bring it down just a little bit more just to get it real thin. And you can see it's lacking some detail on the inside. This portion has the detail on the inside. And there are these little triangular pieces. I think what I'm going to try to do, I want to emulate that, so I'm going to cut one piece to size as sort of a template, and then scribe off some plastic and make, I don't know, I think there's like 16 to 20 of those in there, and just make a bunch of them and then try to fit them to size. That might be more hassle than it's really worth, but I don't know, there's something about the inside here that's lacking detail. I did use my riveting tool to add rivets along the edge here. There should be rivets going, look at the focus here. Yeah, rivets going this way, and then along here. And so I did that already. Very difficult to see on camera, but this will show up once I've done a wash. Okay, and I'm using this riveting set. It's very riveting, I have to say. Amazing set. I love it. I've used it this one time and I was like, oh my God, this is my go-to rivet set. So it comes with these 3 different sizes. And for this particular one, the smallest size was appropriate. But I mean, just really, really nice. It didn't sort of wobble back and forth at all. It kept a nice straight line. Yeah, recommend that set. Anyway, so that's where we're at with these. In the last few minutes or so, let's go ahead and start gluing this. I need to stop talking. All right. So I'm going to use, I just use a top, this little plastic canister. Well, let's see. Let me think about it. I could use the thick stuff and drop it on with toothpick. I could also use the extra thin, or super thin they call it, and use, there it is, a glue looper. Okay, if you use these are really great. What you do is you get the super thin glue, you slide it in, it gives you a little drop on the inside, and then you just set it here and it falls in, and through capillary action it runs the length of the seam and fills up the seam that way. Because it's not that thick, it does take several passes in order to fill it up. And it's a really, really great way of sort of ensuring that the glue gets on the inside, because we can glue on the outside, but we also want to, right, if there's two pieces, let's say that are this thick, well, we're just gluing on that side, but we also may want to glue on the other side as well. And so this allows it to really, really run and cover the entire surface of the pieces. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go. You know what? Let me show you how I work with the glue looper, but ultimately I'm not relying on that. I'm gonna stick with the Zap-A-Gap. So let me do both, okay? All right, I'll tell you what. I have an extra one here. Good. All right, this one has got some leftover dried glue in it, and the way that we deal with that, oh, this is not gonna come free for some reason. There we go. And you have to be really careful because this is noxious. This is like dangerous stuff. But you have to take a lighter and heat it up, and it just burns away. Okay, now those gases are very, very toxic. I really, really recommend doing it outside. I go outside, I turn away, and then make my way back into the house pretty quickly, or back into my working space here. Yeah, don't do that like around kids or, sniff it. Okay, that's just bad stuff, all right? But anyway, that's one great way to sort of take off the dried glue there. All right, let's see if this is gonna work well. Yeah, it's one thing about this hobby too, is there are things that are dangerous, and you really want to be careful. All right, this stuff comes out pretty quick, so be careful. Make a little puddle if you can. It's easy to get it everywhere. I've already spilled some on my mat over here a little bit, so I'm kind of ticked about that, but that's what it is to work with super thin super glue. I mean, you can just see, it just flows really, really quickly. All right. This stuff's gonna dry real quick too, which is nice. I don't need to use the accelerator for the super thin. I will use the accelerator for the CA, all right? So I'm trying to get it to be level. I'm trying to get it to be true, to line up. I want these rivets to be lined up well. And as soon as I get it, I'm gonna pretty quickly try to get a drop going. The other thing too is I could even apply the drop from this angle, but then I can't really keep an eye on how I'm holding it. All right, maybe I should do a little bit of time then. A little bit at a time. Okay, let's do this. Oh, I see. Hold on. Oh, what's going on here? All right. Huh. I just realized this. There is a step here. There's a step here. You can see the shadow, right? There's no step here. So I'm sitting here trying to line them up, trying to level them out, but, oh boy. So, let me just take a quick look. Sorry guys, I didn't mean to stall this, but this is what it is sometimes to build models. Let me get back to that. I bet you it's all smooth. I can't imagine why there would be. All right, here's an undershot of the vehicle. It is smooth. smooth. Down here, smooth. Oh, man. Smooth on this page. I am looking for any sort of indication of what is the reason for having that step there. Just a molding error. Okay. All right, so how do I, if I were to bring them level at the step here, which makes the most sense, this area is not level. You see there's now a lip here. If I bring it down below the lip and match this area up, this area is not level. This is frustrating. Oh no. All right. Let me come up with a solution tonight, okay? Let me think about this. I'm at a loss. Okay. All right, here's a possibility. Oh, yuck. Yuck. Oh, I'm so perturbed by that. That is really, doesn't make any sense. Okay. I'm going to, I don't know what I'm gonna do. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna leave it, and I am so sorry, because that is totally anticlimactic. That is like, that's not, wow. I am perturbed by that. I don't want to deal with the nose yet. I want to get that cone on. I want to see these intakes, deal with them. By the way, the intakes are they're gonna stop here, and so we're not going to be able to see through the vehicle. So I might even put FOD covers on them, foreign object covers. Wow, that is weird. Okay, we're gonna wait. I apologize. That is bad form, but that's just the way it is sometimes, okay? All right, well, I didn't get a whole lot worked on, admittedly. I scribed 2 lines and the rest of it talking with you, so is that my doing or your doing? I don't know. But I'll tell you what, we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. It was really great seeing all of you. Let's continue this again next Friday. I'll put out another reminder on the page. We should have a new video up. It's not going to be up this weekend. I'll have a video up probably midweek next week, okay? And yeah, I'm sorry that, you know, that kind of stalled me at this point. So I'm going to need to figure out what the solution is. Maybe online somebody's discussed it and figured out what they do. But yeah, that's it for tonight. Thanks a lot for joining, Mike, Eric, Tim. Good stuff. Connor, really appreciate it. All right. Charlie, also, and Devo. Good to see all of you. I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah, and I'll see you next time, next Friday, 7:30. All right. Take it easy.